Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Movies for Dumb Guys. I am your host, Joe Johnson, and I am joined by Ryan Sharp
Hakuna Matata.
and Tim Williams
Such heroic nonsense.
and Marilyn Monroe. And all right, so recently Incredibles 2 came out, and I got a chance to see it over the weekend. I thought it was one of the best sequels I've ever seen. I thought it was enormously entertaining, laugh out loud funny, great action sequences. And minutes into the movie, I kind of forgot I was watching an animated movie. I thought the characters were so fleshed out and so well developed. And I really absolutely love this movie. Ryan, did you get a chance to see it over the weekend?
I didn't. I was trying, and things just didn't work out that I was able to. But as much as everybody's talking about how great it is, as I mentioned last time, am not a huge fan of the first one. I don't dislike the movie. I like the movie, but it's not on my top list.
Tim, did you get around to seeing it?
I agreed with Ryan last time that I was not a huge fan of the first one either, but I did get a chance to see this one and I really enjoyed it a lot. It was I don't know, it almost seemed like a totally different feel than the first one to me. The only thing that I can think of, the reason that I didn't care about the first one is maybe Mr. Incredible himself. I think that just because he's just a strong guy, and didn't really have the power. So I think it was good that they focused more on Elastigirl in this one, and then they obviously put him in the role of Mr. Mom, and hilarity ensued.
Yeah. Even though one thing that did bother me a little bit, and I think maybe it's one of the reasons they went in the direction that they did, is Craig T. Nelson, who voices Mr. Incredible. He's getting older. His voice is
Yes.
getting a little weaker, and so I think maybe that might have motivated them to make Mr. Incredible exhausted and tired. And I think they kind of took advantage of the fact that
Yeah, I didn't think
uh,
about that.
he was
but
just exhausted.
You're probably right. I mean, they did the little promo before the movie talking about that it had been 14 years or whatever, and yeah, he looked old and looked like he could barely even talk,
Right.
like in that promo. But
Exactly.
I didn't really notice it during the movie itself. His voice sounding older.
Oh, I
than,
did.
Than
I
it did,
picked
but-
up on that. Yeah. Let me play a little clip from the trailer
The
here.
room.
Why elephant?
Mom's new job.
It's time to make some wrong things right. Help me bring supers back into the sunlight. We need to change people's perceptions about superheroes, and Elastigirl is our best play.
Better than me?
So that was kind of the theme of the movie, was going to Elastigirl and Mr. Incredible feeling slighted and being the Mr. Mom. And I think that's what made the sequel refreshing and made it completely different than the first one. And I really enjoyed it. So, Ryan, you get a chance, get out there. Go
I
see
will.
it.
I'll see it.
Now, I will say this, and I don't know if they purposely did it, but as soon as I heard Bob Odenkirk's voice,
Uh-huh.
I was like, he's gonna be the bad guy. So I don't know if they purposely did that,
To
just
throw
to
ya?
throw
Yeah.
people off or what. But
Yeah.
but I like that little twist there,
Yeah.
there too.
I thought I was one step ahead. I was like you. I'm thinking, yeah, we know what's going to happen here. And
I mean,
then
I thought they
added
both. I
a-
thought the brother and sister both would be,
right,
but
cahoots, yeah.
but it was cool that they didn't
Yeah.
do that with him. But
All right. So to coincide with the release of Incredibles 2, we decided today's topic is going to be the best animated movies ever. And I know that's a very broad list because there's traditional animation, there's computer animation, there's claymation and stop motion. So it's going to be kind of a free-for-all. I'm inviting you guys to talk about any form of animation as long as it was a feature-length theatrical release. And I'm going to get things started by talking about my all-time favorite animated movie of all time. We've discussed it before on this podcast, and that is Disney's Beauty and the Beast. There was just something about traditional animation back then that I just loved. Now, having said that, prior to the release of Beauty and the Beast, there was Little Mermaid and there were some other things. And I kind of dismissed traditionally animated movies, specifically Disney movies, as being kids' stuff. And I really had no interest in going to see them. And so some friends of mine had gone to see Beauty and the Beast, and they basically dragged me to it. They said, "You got to see this movie." So they dragged me to the theater. I was dragging my feet. I didn't want to go see it, and just absolutely fell in love with this movie. I think it's the greatest animated movie of all time, and it was one of two animated movies that were ever nominated for Best Picture by the Academy of Motion Pictures. That and Toy Story 3 were both nominated for Best Picture, and it was in the running. And I don't know what it lost out to, but so that's how good it was. It was nominated for Best Picture. Ryan, your thoughts on Beauty and the Beast?
Um, when I made my list, I didn't even think about that. Like it didn't even register in my brain that that was even an option. I'm so far removed from this movie. I never have gotten into it. I don't relate to it. I don't like it.
I relate to it for some reason.
Weird.
Yeah, yeah. I
Weird.
don't know.
I will say that I like the name Gaston, like I mentioned before. But I couldn't name my kid that because I got vetoed. So
Guest,
maybe that's why I don't like it.
Gaston Sharp. Tim, your thoughts on Beauty and the Beast?
I think we had discussed this a while back. I don't think I saw it at the theater. I think it was a while before I saw it. Actually, I think I just finally sat down and watched it from beginning to end a few years ago. And I mean, maybe if I would have saw it when it first came out, I'd have different feelings about it. But watching it now, to me, the animation didn't seem as fluid as normal Disney stuff. It seemed kind of choppy. And so I don't know if they were like cutting corners there or what. But anyway, I mean it's fine for what it is, but yeah, it didn't make my top 10. It's not anything that really resonated with me either. Nothing against it. It's fine. I mean, it's typical Disney, but just nothing that I would put up on a pedestal or anything. No.
All right. Now, number 2 on my list. This gets a little tricky because it is part of a trilogy of movies that I think is one of the greatest trilogies of all time.
To infinity and beyond.
The Toy Story movies. When the first Toy Story movie came out, it revolutionized movies. It was the first feature-length film done entirely in CGI, computer animation, and being a toy enthusiast, being a toy collector, having played with toys most of my life, this movie just blew me away. Fell in love with the characters, and just thought the original one was just fantastic. Then they come out with Toy Story 2, which I thought may be even better than the first one with the toy collector, and they introduced new characters like Jessie and the horsey Bullseye, and I thought, wow, that is a great sequel. And then we had to wait a few years, and then Toy Story 3 came out, and there I am sitting in the theater with tears streaming down my cheeks, and I thought, my God, this is one of the greatest trilogies of all time. And so it's hard for me to pick any one of those movies as one of the greatest animated movies of all time. I have to kind of lump them together as one trilogy. Brian, you cried during Toy Story 3, didn't you?
I did not because I don't.
You're mocking me, aren't you?
Yeah. Shocker.
Your
How long have
thoughts-
you been sitting on that one, Johnson?
Your thoughts on Toy Story?
Oh, Toy Story. What a waste of time. No, I'm kidding. Get your hand away from the button. Actually, Toy Story is number 1 on my list.
Look at that.
Yes, I agree. I mean, Toy Story number 1 is number 1 on my list, and I can go ahead and include the second and third because they kind of just continued with the story. Each have their own little nuances that make them great, and the new characters were great. And Mr. Potato Head as a burrito or a whatever he was, a pita or whatever it was. Like,
Tortilla.
tortilla. Yeah, it was hilarious. Like I was, laugh out loud funny. I remember the first time I went and saw Toy Story actually, and it was me and my roommate at the time. Well, I was living at his house with his parents because we were 17, 18 years old. So here's these two 17, 18-year-old, men sitting amongst a theater full of little kids, and we were totally okay with it and laughed hysterically. Ended up seeing it like 4 times in the theater.
Wow.
Yeah,
Do
absolutely.
what I
loved
do.
it.
Just stay close to a family. People just assume you're with them, and it won't look weird at all.
Yeah, well, I mean, 17, 18, it wasn't creepy yet. So, yeah, it definitely revolutionized animation. It really, you could relate to so many different characters, and it was just great writing from start to finish, and number 1 on my list.
Tim, do you concur?
Yeah, I like them. They're number excuse me, they're number 7 on my list. And I think sorry.
We got Bane or
Sorry.
Dark Knight coming. Batman's here.
I think but I think the third one really took them to a whole new level. I didn't see any of them at the theater. I waited, until I mean, the first Toy Story, when I saw the previews, I really didn't even have any interest in seeing it. I mean, I was about 23, I guess, when it came out. So I really didn't have any interest in seeing it, but I don't know if I rented it or one of my nieces and nephews watched it or what. But then I really liked it and, saw that they had actually put a lot into it, writing wise and everything. And 2, I wasn't too crazy about. I mean, I like it, but I didn't think it was that great. I don't know. I mean, they introduced those other characters and everything, and they had the toy collector thing, and I'm with you as far as that goes. But I don't know. To me, it just seemed like they just kind of put it out there and maybe like rushed it a little bit.
Which one? The second one?
I thought so.
I will
I
say,
don't like confrontations.
I will say is my least favorite of the 3.
Yeah.
And the toy collector, I hate that guy.
Really? Well, I guess
Well,
you're
you're supposed to.
to.
Well,
He's a heel.
No, not the toy collector, the actor.
Oh, Wayne Knight.
I don't like him. I don't like him in anything he's
Newman.
been in. I don't like him as Newman. I don't like him in Jurassic Park. I don't like him. His voice is super annoying to me, and it makes my blood pressure rise. Like,
Wow.
Hey, this guy doesn't like Wayne Knight. See, nobody cares.
Right?
That's right. All right. Sticking with Pixar, I'm fully expecting you guys to go against me on this one. I think I'm in the minority in general when it comes to this particular movie. It was one of the lowest grossing Pixar movies, even though I think it's developed a little bit of a cult following down the road. But one of my favorite Pixar movies, quite possibly in my top 5, is the movie Cars. I love Cars. Love the whole Lightning McQueen thing. I love the Route 66 and nostalgia for a different time when things were simpler and people drove across country as an experience, not necessarily to get somewhere. And this movie spoke to me. And then the race scenes were just so realistic and so incredible and so much detail. And it was funny and sweet, and there was romance and a little bit of something for everyone. And it always amazes me when people are like, nah, didn't like Cars. I'm like, what? It's one of my top 5 Pixar movies of all time and one of my favorite animated movies of all time.
You think that was one of the lowest grossing for real?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It is? Oh,
Yeah.
I
might
never
be
heard
like-
that.
yeah.
I thought it made like tons of money.
No,
'cause
no,
I
compared
remember,
to,
like, all
I
the-
mean, it's above like A Bug's Life
Good
and A Good
Dinosaur
Dinosaur,
and-
but it might be in the bottom 5, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Wow,
shocking
I never
because
knew
they
that.
made Cars 2 and Planes and all the spin-offs.
And all the Cars merchandise that's still on the shelves?
Right,
today?
and Cars 2 was a bit of a cash grab, and even though it was silly fun, it could have been released straight to DVD.
Oh.
And then Cars 3 was okay, but there was a bit of a downer about Lightning McQueen being past his prime, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to hear that, la 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 la. So for me, it's not so much as a trilogy as I just really thoroughly enjoy the first one. So Ryan, what are your thoughts on Cars?
So you're telling me the guy that runs Hollywood Diecast Cars
Uh huh.
likes a movie that's animated about cars.
Uh-huh.
Big shocker over here. Good luck.
Ka-ching!
No, I actually really like this movie. It's not maybe not in my top 5, but it's definitely on my list. I watched it often. I tried to get instead of watching stupid things like Barney and stuff. When my son was young, I tried to get him hooked on cars. I think Lightning McQueen was really funny and someone you rooted for, and you got the old guy teaching him the way, and then
Paul Newman of all
you got
people.
a good right, you got a good villain. Um, Catchphrases were cool, ka-chow, and
Mhm.
even the cars, the two groupies that flash their headlights. I think that was hilarious.
Yeah, there's some
Um,
stuff in there for adults. Yeah.
Right. The cast of characters, whether it's the alternative fuel stoner guy or Flo or Ramon, just a really well-rounded, entertaining group of characters. Of course, Mater. Everybody loved Mater. I remember watching this in the movie theater, and it was the first time that I ever was impressed with the animation.
Mhm.
Toy Story was revolutionary, and I love that movie. And there was great animated movies after, and I like them. But this was the first time that I actually sat back and was like, "Holy crap!" There's that scene where they cruise down the freshly paved strip, and all the lights are reflecting off
Oh,
like
yeah.
Vegas. And I thought they did such an amazing job with that I was hooked. And
Yeah.
again, like you said, the Route 66 thing, and
Yeah.
the whole story about how that town, with the new expressway fell on the wayside
Yeah.
and stuff. Great
And
writing.
and you made reference to the adult content. I remember there's one line that shocked me when I saw it in the theater when Lightning McQueen makes reference to the Piston Cup, and Mater goes, "He did what in his cup?" And I'm like, "What the heck?" Like that really shocked me,
Yeah.
man. Tim, your thoughts on Cars?
Yeah, like Toy Story, I didn't see that at the theater or anything. I don't know. It was probably the same deal. My nieces and nephews probably watched it, or I don't know. Maybe I rented it. I don't know. But yeah, I liked it. I think Toy Story is really the only Pixar that I have on my list. But but yeah, I liked it. I mean, it's not one that I bought or anything, and I never saw any of the sequels to it.
Yeah. A
But
lot of the
but I liked
animated
it when I
shorts
saw
were
it.
pretty good too. They did a series of animated shorts, mostly revolved around Mater, but those are pretty darn entertaining too.
I will
Like
say that
Mater's Tall
Cars,
Tales.
I like Cars, but the sequels definitely
Right.
are out from, yeah.
Right.
It reminded me of when I watched it, and not that this was an issue I had with it or anything, but it reminded me of. I don't know if it was. I don't know what company it came from, but remember the old cartoon where the dad, the I don't know if it was a Looney Tune or what, but like the dad was like a jalopy or something, and the kid wanted to be a race car, and then at the very end, uh, and then he ends up getting in a crash. The kid,
I don't remember that at
and
all.
really, I'll have to look that up and send it to you. I'll try to find it online, but I mean, it was like a classic cartoon that they used to show
Yeah.
all the time, and then the kid at the end. He gives him the choice of becoming the race car or the jalopy, and then he ends up picking
Huh.
the jalopy. Yeah, maybe not a
And he had
jalopy,
like
but whatever.
like
But that's
something with
it
like the
remind-
nose. He like was proud about it at the end. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah. I'll
Cars
I'll
was-
send it to you. But
Cars was based on an old animated Disney film called Susie the Little Blue Coupe. And if you haven't seen it, you got to check it out. It's traditional animation, but it's about this female
I
car,
think
and
I've watched that.
Yeah.
Yeah, since that came out.
and
Yeah.
it's on some DVD. I'm gonna have to look it up, but it was short on a DVD, and so you could find it. But that's what inspired Cars, because her windshield was
Okay.
her eyes, and
Yeah,
and,
well, that's what
yeah.
these are too.
Yeah.
But
All right.
so
I'll check
I'll
that out.
find it and I'll send it to you.
All right. Moving on to number 4 on my list. This movie tanked when it came out. It grossed only $23 million in its entire run. Came out in 1999. Here's a little snippet.
Oh, hey, Superman.
All right. So The Iron Giant came out in 1999. I went to go see this at the theater. And, well, let me tell you this one story. So, seeing it, this was the first time I saw it. So, my nephew was 2 at the time. and my sisters, we all met at this movie theater. I think it might have been Great Lakes Crossing, and
It was.
they wanted to go
remember.
see. Do you remember?
I was
So,
working.
They wanted to go see Runaway Bride, I think it was, and so I said I'm going to take Grant to go see Iron Giant. So we go into separate theaters. They happen to come out at the exact same time. The movies ended at the exact same time. And as we leave the theater, we meet in the middle, and my sisters look at me and go, "Were you crying?" And I'm like, "Shut up." And I'm wiping tears away from my eyes. I thought Iron Giant was remarkable. I thought the animation was incredible. The story was great. Like I said earlier, it tanked when it came out, but it has since developed a cult following, and people today who've found it on DVD and have shared it with their children absolutely love the Iron Giant. Definitely one of my top 5 animated films of all time. Brian, you ever get around to seeing it?
I still have never gotten around to seeing it now. However, I do have very vivid memories of this movie through you. That was the first time that you publicly announced that you cried, and I was like, "Oh, look at this big baby over here."
Wasn't the first
Shut
time.
up, you're a big baby.
Wasn't the last time.
Yeah, absolutely. So now it doesn't surprise me at all. But I was
What,
like, "What?
did he come over and talk to you after he got out of the
Yeah,
the movie or
I mean,
something?
I don't. Memories faded a little bit. I don't remember if it was that day or if we just had talked about it in the the couple days after. But he mentioned he cried, and I was like, "What a big baby!" And that was the first time I realized that you were a crier. It was with Iron Giant.
Like confrontations.
Tim, did you ever see Iron Giant?
Of course, that is my number one favorite
Wow.
animated movie of all time, and
Of all time.
it is. And I did not. It was kind of off my radar. I think I remember like seeing a little bit about it and thought about going to see it. Like I don't know if the tomato meter was around at that time. I don't think it
I don't
was.
think
It was
so, no.
probably maybe it was Ain't It Cool News. I think they might have been around, but
Yeah.
Box
but
office
that's
mojo.
I don't think they were, but that's the only reason that I knew about it or whatever. But I never saw it at the theater. I rented it, and I remember sitting there with my first wife, and when when the ending was coming, she was like, "This better not end this way," and I may have cried as well.
Hey!
You're a
And
big baby, too.
She was bawling. I probably had some tears as well, and
Speck of dust in me eye.
yeah, yes. But yeah, I mean the animation is. I mean, I looking at my list now. Most of mine is like the classic animation and the older style animation.
Mhm.
I at one point wanted to be an animator or cartoonist. So I don't know. I think I appreciate that art form a little bit more. But yeah, like the animation was almost like old school Disney, where it was more fluid to me.
Right.
And Brad Bird was the one that did it.
Yeah.
Uh,
He's the
the-
Incredibles
the-
guy, right? Did he do
the Incredibles, and
Yeah.
I thought Toy Story too,
Oh, did he?
didn't he?
I thought that was John Lasseter, but I could be wrong.
I thought
Oh,
he
yeah,
had
they
something to
did.
do with the beginning of it.
Could be.
but
John
I-
Lasseter did everything.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But Brad Bird, I thought was one of the founders of Pixar, wasn't he?
Could be. Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, I mean the story, the characters, everything about it, the voice actors that they got for it, everything,
Yeah.
everything about it was good.
I agree with you. And number 5 on my list, probably, I think this might be the only non-Disney Pixar computer animated movie on my list.
What do you know? Oh, this is gonna be fun. We can stay up late, swapping manly stories, and in the morning, I'm making waffles. Oh, where do I sleep?
So, Donkey is best in small doses, but Shrek absolutely blew me away when it came out. I loved all the references, the movie references, TV references. It was a very adult film that children enjoyed as well. I just loved everything about this movie. And the sequel I thought was great that introduced Puss in Boots. I thought Puss in Boots was amazing. Honestly, I vaguely recall the sequels after that. But I thought Shrek was just great, full of pop culture references. Ryan, your thoughts on Shrek?
So I remember when this movie came out, all the hype that it was getting, something about the animation with this one as well, and how long it took to make every single hair strand on Donkey and blah blah blah. Didn't really see any previews for it. It wasn't. I don't feel like it was very well advertised. I could be wrong, but that's the feeling I get when I think back about it. And then I saw it and was blown away. Love Shrek. Now, we all know that Mike Myers was not the original Shrek.
It's funny you should say that.
It's supposed to be
Say
what,
that.
Chris Farley?
Chris Farley.
Yeah. Here, I got a little clip here. It'll kick in. Did it play? Hold on a second. So yeah, Chris Farley was originally tapped to do the voice of Shrek, and I think they had quite a bit of it done.
Noble romantic mission
Yes.
to warm the cockles of your heart.
Yeah. I like my cockles room temperature, thank you very much.
Hey, if you're not doing this for cockle warming, why are you doing it?
Simple. Fartwad gets his princess, I get what I want.
Which is? Now, come on, what do you want?
I don't have time to set it to music.
So you could see that it has a completely
Oh.
different feel to it.
I never knew that.
Kind of awful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know if it
mean,
would have been the
would we
success
have-
that it was.
Would we have thought that though? If that was,
Well,
if
I mean,
that was
just
the
based on
original
what I
thing,
hear
though?
here, it doesn't sound like Chris Farley's really putting his heart into this thing.
No.
Well, it was.
So maybe
final
every.
days.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Uh,
So you know,
No,
I
I
have to say
don't-
that everything happens for a reason, but I'm grateful that Mike Myers was given the opportunity.
See, I never
to
knew that.
step
I
in and
never
do
knew
that.
that he had even started
yeah.
doing the voice work for it.
Oh yeah, they had like
Oh,
I
okay.
want to say they had like 3/4 of it done. Like,
Really?
a lot of it was
Wow.
done.
Wow, I
yeah.
didn't know that.
And then they also had a lot done with Mike Myers, and he wasn't using the accent, and then changed it,
Wow.
and then they had to go back and reshoot,
Reshoot
it
the whole
again,
thing.
Oh,
With-
my
start over
God.
again.
Well, thank God it caught on then.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that
Yeah.
wasn't cheap.
Now the thing I remember about Shrek, excuse me, that was just spittle. The thing I remember about Shrek
Weird
is,
thing
like
to
you said,
remember.
when it was released, it was under the radar, and Shrek,
Mhm.
like I think, moved into #1 after several weeks after it had been out, and then once it reached #1, stayed at #1 for an incredibly long period of time. I vividly remember this, and yes, and so it was word of mouth that made this movie a hit.
It was amazing. I still quote it, the waffle line that you just played. I quote that all the time. Like, I'm making waffles. Like, absolutely. It definitely earned a spot in pop culture history. At the time, it was so big that Joe, you and I even made a wedding proposal video
Propose to your wife
using
with my
Shrek
Shrek doll.
You're
You're welcome.
So that might be why I'm divorced now. But beside the fact, people, if you haven't seen the video, it's much better than saying that I proposed with a Shrek doll. There was some creativity in there. But anyways, definitely, up on my list.
Tim, your thoughts on Shrek?
Again, it's not something that I saw at the theater. Thinking back now, I think I had a little bit of bias towards the early days of the computer animation because I didn't want to see it, and so I finally watched it, and I had heard all the hype about it, and I didn't think it lived up to the hype when I first saw it, but when I saw the second, I ended up seeing the second one as a double feature at my old favorite drive-in, the Miracle Twin in Burton, God rest its soul, and I really liked that one, and I don't know if it was the addition of Puss in Boots or whatever, but I ended up really liking that one, and then now going back and watching the original Shrek, I like it better, but I think it was just so hyped up that my expectations for it were like so high,
Yeah.
that it couldn't have lived up to that.
It's weird. I saw Shrek 2 at the same drive-in on a date, which didn't work out, shockingly. So
Did she make you sit in the back seat?
That's right.
Shrek.
All right, so that's my top 5. If we have time, I'll rattle off the bottom 5. But let's get to Ryan now. What is on your list that we have not discussed yet?
Boy, do I got a lot.
Here
I
we
guess
go.
I really love me some cartoons. Nothing better than sitting down with a nice big bowl of Fruity Pebbles and popping on a classic animation. One of my favorite, number 2 on my list, and really struggled with what was number 1, number 2. It is Disney's The Lion King.
Really?
It is.
Go ahead. The sound's going to kick in a second.
Yeah, you're just waiting so you can do it over. Time.
There. I just want to play that part. Disney's
Yeah.
probably going to come after me, but
You wanted to play
I
that
needed to
part
get there.
as soon as I started talking.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I actually I saw this in the theater. It was an empty theater. It was really weird. Me and my girlfriend at the time went and saw it. Didn't know what to expect and just fell in love with the movie. I'm not a big musical guy, but man, those songs are catchy, and boy, this movie was catchy. And Hakuna Matata, everybody knows what that is and what it means, and everybody can sing the song. And somebody gets smacked in the head, doesn't matter. It's in the past, right? Everybody loves it.
Any tears? Any waterworks?
I almost thought about not ever crying at a movie. No, I didn't cry. So what?
Man.
Mufasa dies. Big deal. Spoiler alert. No, it was sad when
Wow,
he died.
wow.
It's a cartoon. Yeah, I thought, Scar was an amazing villain. I thought the hyenas were a great subordinate of the villain, and just a great movie overall from start to finish, from being a little kid to taking his throne, top Pride Martin style. Number 2.
That when I saw Lion King, because Disney was just on a tear. Every movie they'd release was a big hit. I went and saw Lion King. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I don't know if it's just because it was talking animals or what, but I never really got into the talking animals kind of classic Disney animation. So I liked it. Didn't love it. And it also, I think it was around that point I began to question why all Disney movies have one parent or the other. One gets killed off or one is non-existent. And I began to question, what is going on? Now, there is a story, and I don't know if this has anything to do with Disney movies having one parent, but there is a story that Walt Disney had bought his parents a new house when he found success, and the parents moved in, and there was a faulty heater or something, and his mother died in the house because of a faulty heater.
Mhm.
Now, that might have something to do with it. I don't know. There's never been confirmed that there was a stipulation it had to be in all the movies, but maybe it's just a coincidence. I don't know. But that was always a weird thing that there was only one parent in every Disney movie. I mean, look at Toy Story. You got the mom, I mean, it's so many like that.
Mhm.
Anyways, I
They didn't say the
digress.
dad died, though. That could have just been a bad marriage.
What's that? Oh, in the
In
Toy Story? Yeah, they never explain what happened to the dad.
Because there's a
so-
lot of single moms, insensitive bastard.
But I'm just saying, it's weird that all Disney movies have
Yeah.
that. Rarely do they have two parents.
Well, you need a conflict, and you need whatever.
I
Part of the
digress.
storyline.
Tim, your thoughts on Lion King?
Yeah, I did see this at the theater.
Finally.
I did not cry, but the friend that I was with had to leave the theater because it was a female, and she didn't want to see. She didn't want me to see her cry, apparently. So she,
Wow.
she
I just want more popcorn.
she yeah, it was. I mean, she was sobbing though, and
I would never leave a
so I
theater
came back.
so people wouldn't see me cry. I'm going to cry. And
That's
I take
not-
ownership.
That seems like the exact
Right.
opposite, because the theater should be the place because it's dark and nobody can see. You go out in the
Right.
concession and all the lights are on. And
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why she thought I would have had a problem with that, but whatever. I mean, I thought it was
again,
odd,
because
but-
it's a cartoon.
right. But yeah, I liked it. It didn't make my list because looking back on it now, it's just to me the typical Disney formula, like you said. It's singing and dancing animals, and somebody dies, one of the parents die, and but I mean I do like it. I mean it would probably be maybe hover around 11 on my top 10, but yeah, I mean I do like it. It's classic, and I think that was the one that kind of brought Disney back into prominence, wasn't it? Because for a while there was
Come on.
wasn't there kind of like a
Like, it came out in 94, '84.
Oh, okay, so maybe not. Because when did
Yeah, no, this
when did
is
Little
like-
Mermaid come out?
Little Mermaid came out in '89. Beauty and the Beast
Oh, okay.
91.
So they were still- it seemed-
Aladdin
it seemed
92,
like
and
to
then
me-
Lion King. So
Oh,
it was like
okay.
pow, pow, pow,
Okay.
like one after another.
Pow,
Okay.
pow, pow.
It just seemed to me, I guess maybe because I had quit seeing Disney movies, and then that was probably like the first one I'd seen at the theater. In
I
a
think
while.
it was more,
But-
even though the other ones that you just read off were very successful. I think the Lion King was more impactful, so maybe that's
Mhm.
why you think that. 'Cause
Could
I
be.
think it, like
That
It was
could-
a
spread
phenomenon.
spread more than Little Mermaid appealed to younger girls and people with mermaid fetishes, but
Oh, I saw
this
that.
was more-
I saw that.
this was more broad. I think I think the audience was captured a bigger audience.
All right, what else you got?
Next on my list, speaking of 1992, I think you said, is Aladdin.
Oh yeah.
Love Aladdin.
I can show you the world.
Had the hugest crush on Jasmine. My mom, for some reason, keeps saying that that's where I got my love for brunettes. I don't know if to be true or not, but whatever. Yeah, again, I just thought it was a great movie. Genie was just
Oh, Robin Williams. Oh,
how
my God.
so class, so funny, such a great performance, especially for an animated film. And just loved it from start to finish.
I agree. The animation was beautiful. They used computer animation for the carpet, the magic carpet. Songs were amazing. Yeah, that's number 8 on my top 10. Definitely one of the greatest animated movies of all time. I agree.
It makes me laugh out loud. And if you can do that and be an animated movie, you're
Mhm.
probably on my list.
Tim?
Yeah. I mean, I've probably seen it once, and it was fine. Typical Disney again
Mhm.
to me. I mean, I did like the genie and everything, but it wasn't anything that really resonated with me. And just for the record, my love for brunettes came from Charlie's Angels and Jacqueline Smith.
Oh, that was way back.
You know where.
I think I might have to go back to like Phoebe Cates or Lori Loughlin. That's where my love of brunettes came from.
Yeah, I don't
So
know.
yeah, I loved Aladdin.
Electric sex.
And again, Jasmine had a father, no mother, and Aladdin had no parents at all. So, all right, what else you got there, Orion?
Number 5 on my list is there's 2 that I struggle with which one to put here. I'm gonna go with Big Hero 6 though.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody felt the way that I did. I think we talked about it on another podcast, and you guys were kind of lukewarm on it, or maybe never saw
That came
it.
up on our superhero one, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
That sounds
I
about
have.
right.
I'm
I just-
embarrassed to admit I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I remember.
And I have not seen the whole thing yet. I've seen parts of it. I accidentally saw the ending already, so I
So-
kind of don't want to go back.
No, you should though. I
Okay.
think that Betamax was just absolutely hysterical, and
Is that
great
his name?
lines.
Betamax.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And not what I was expecting at all. Like when I saw the previews of it, I was like, eh. The preview showed him in the police station going, "Let me get this right. A guy in a kabuki mask." And the air's coming out of him, and he starts taping himself.
Right.
And I thought that was funny, but it didn't make me want to go see it.
All right.
And then I saw it, and it was nothing like I was expecting it to be. I thought they did a great job with the villain and the story, and of course somebody died. And just furthering your theory there. But I thought Baymax was
Oh, Baymax. B-A-Y.
Yeah.
I thought you said
Yeah.
Betamax. I was going to
BAY
say I'm more of a
It's-
VHS guy.
it's
Yeah, it's
more of
Baymax.
It's
Yeah, that's
Baymax.
right.
or VHS.
No, that is a Marvel. That's a Marvel comic, isn't it? It
don't
gets
know.
credit
I'm
for
not
being
sure.
Marvel.
Is it
Marvel
a-
is in the.
Is it a
Marvel
Disney
had-
film? Is it considered a Disney film?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a Disney film,
So it's
but
a- okay.
apparently it was a Marvel comic book.
I didn't know that, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
I really it's set in like a San Francisco / Tokyo, like it's like a hybrid. So I was really like, I don't know about this, but then I fell in love. I actually went and saw it at the theater multiple times. Once kids free, and I just thought it was a great story, a great group of characters. Again, they did a great job with the ensemble. The 6 people that they came up with each had their own things that you liked about them. Stan Lee was great in it, of course.
You had a cameo?
Yeah,
I
he
did
did.
not know
So,
that. right.
yeah, it is. It's great from start to finish. Joe Johnson this Sunday when it's raining outside.
Uh-huh. It should be
put
right in
on
this
Big
weekend.
Hero 6.
All right. Recap your top 5 real quick.
Toy Story, Lion King, Aladdin, Big Hero 6. Well, that's only 4.
I thought you said that was your 5th.
I thought it was. I just can't count.
What's your 5th? on
That's
that
great
list?
because this was the other one that I was struggling with. My 5th is Emperor's New Groove.
I can't even comment on that one. I didn't see it. I had no interest in seeing it.
I had no interest in seeing it either. I thought it looked stupid.
Who were the voice actors in that?
David Spade and who else?
John Goodman. So,
Okay.
I want to say, was Will Smith or somebody?
no,
Okay.
not bad.
All right. I'm
So,
lost.
yeah, this is where Couscous is a llama, or he's a king, and he gets turned into a llama and gets paired up with John Goodman. I had no desire to see this movie at all. I thought it looked stupid as all get out. I hated the way that it was animated. I hated the character and how I hated.
I like this movie.
Really?
But I've only seen it like one time.
Yeah,
But I did like it.
I hated how the earrings that they made on them, like the colors. I don't know, just something was big turnoff. But I was working at the movie theater at the time, and I went in and I saw a couple scenes, and I forget the actor's name who played Kronk. He was on like Rules of Engagement and
Not Putty.
what?
Putty from Seinfeld?
From Seinfeld, and the Tick, the guy that was the first human version of the Tick.
You guys are all Greek. To
I
me.
can't think. I can't think of his real name right now, but
All I know is that
I'm pretty sure that that's who it was, though. Now that you mention that,
it was. All I know is that his character stole the show. And the whole thing was great, but his character,
Patrick Warburton, yeah.
Yeah.
the whole thing stole the show. I was laugh out loud funny, and I really enjoyed showing this to other people and getting their reaction out of it because it's laugh out loud funny. I even went as so far is to create a game with this, and it was called Strip Emperor's New Groove. So what we would do is you put on Emperor's New Groove, and every time you laugh, you have to take off a piece of clothing.
Okay.
It worked out pretty well.
Interesting.
So
Don't
Joe,
look at that.
on
I've
Sunday,
Yeah. I'll be naked by the end of the movie.
first 15 minutes.
All right, Tim, let's get to your list. What
Okay,
recap what we've talked about already. So what's number 1 on your list?
The only one that we talked about Toy Story. That was number 7.
So Iron Giant was number 1.
one.
All right, what's number 2?
And like I said, I'm going back a ways. Probably because as a kid, obviously these animated movies resonated more with me than they did as adults. So I remember it's my number 2. You might want to get the blue button ready. Is Secret of Nim.
I loved that book when I was a kid.
I'm not prepared
Yeah.
to boo it. I remember when
Okay.
it came out. I remember it being fairly popular, wasn't it? I just for some reason I never
Yeah.
got around to seeing it.
Really?
What's the premise of that movie?
It's this company I think is moving in. Nim was, what were they? Were they exterminators or something? It was like mice that were living underground. It was all like the. I mean, it wasn't just mice. I mean,
Joe,
it
you
was,
smell
it was,
something
it-
funny
It,
over
was
there?
all.
Yeah, I
it
think
was,
he's making this up.
No, it was like all these creatures, and like one of the kid was sick, and they were trying to get him medicine, and I think they were destroying like their habitat or something. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember like watching it. I remember like in, I want to say 4th grade, we used to get these books and that we would read, and probably a year before that movie came out, they had like a play in there, and I was like one of the characters in the play, and then when the movie came out, I liked it, and they used to show it on cable.
Yeah, I remember it being a
lot,
staple on cable, but
Yeah.
for some reason
And
I
I
never
just-
sat down and watched it.
I agree. It's not on my list, but I thought about it. I just didn't remember it enough to put it down there. But I definitely watched it a lot as a kid, and I read the book all the time.
Yeah, I mean that was 1982. Don Bluth is the guy. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't hear his name.
He did
much
the
anymore, but
Rescuers.
I
Was it
believe
The
he might have been the
Rescuers?
Rescuers because he
think
left
so.
Disney.
Yeah.
Seems
And
like
I think that was after he left Disney.
seems-
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of a forgotten one. But
Yeah.
like I said, it's been a long time since I watched it. But I used to watch it all the time.
All right.
Um,
Number 3.
Number 3, and I've mentioned this a few times, is Transformers the movie, 1986.
A lot of people would agree with you. I think you mentioned recently that it's your favorite Transformer movie, period.
Oh, it is. It's not even close. Yeah, it just I mean, I had the comics first, and the cartoon more than a lot of the cartoons that would come out, especially like He-Man, because the He-Man toys would come with like a mini comic. But when the cartoon finally came out, it was like so watered down and so lame. There was no Orko in the comics. There was no Prince Adam in the comics. It was just but Transformers actually kind of stuck to the comics pretty faithfully. Um, Unfortunately, this movie and kids, I did not see this at the theater, but I know kids weren't prepared because what the whole premise or the whole purpose of making this movie was toy wise. Obviously, they want to sell toys.
Now the toys came first, right?
The toys in the cartoon had already been going on for quite a few years. So what they wanted to do was wipe out all the original toys, including Optimus Prime, so they could start marketing their next wave of toys. And there was like a huge backlash. Parents were highly upset because they killed off Optimus Prime in it, and like kids were like traumatized. I see people talking about it on Facebook all the time. They're like still traumatized by that, like experience of going to that movie and watching Optimus Prime get killed.
So did they like make an effort to bring him back, or did they just
They
kind of
did actually. By the time I saw it, I'm assuming I rented it to watch it. At the end of it, they said, "And the return of Optimus Prime." Coming up.
Yeah, I think
So
that's
they had
on
to, like,
A&E. It's called like Fast and Loud or Top Gear or something like that. They rebuild Optimus Prime, bring him back to life.
Cool.
But anyway,
I
no?
gotta sit down and watch that movie because, like I said, the Transformers movies are kind of hit and miss with me. But I enjoy them when they're good. I despise them when they're bad.
Going. I
need
don't
to
know
watch
if you could enjoy it. I mean,
Really?
if you didn't watch the cartoon,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
And if you didn't play with the toys, I don't know.
Yeah.
If you would, and after seeing the movies, I mean, you might be able to appreciate it somewhat.
See, I started
not
losing
sure.
interest in toys like in the mid '80s. Like I didn't even buy like Return of the Jedi toys. I was just done with toys. When did Transformers hit TVs?
I'm saying around 82.
Oh, that early? Okay.
Yeah, 82 or 83.
All right.
So I was
I
still
never got
10.
into that. Okay.
But at this point, this is 1986. I wasn't buying the toys anymore or
Yeah.
anything. So I mean, I was fine with it that they had like wiped all them out and were moving on with these other toys. The the cartoon that was on every day wasn't as good.
Yeah.
I mean, it just went in a whole different direction. But
Hmm.
they brought Optimus Prime back pretty quick on the
Yeah.
cartoon, if I remember.
And you
Right.
think that was just done out of outrage? Like,
I'm pretty sure, and honestly, they were going to do the same thing with GI Joe. They were going to release the GI Joe movie in the theaters and kill off Duke, who was like kind of the main leader, for the same reason, to start
right.
to bring a new leader in and start selling.
No, it's
selling-
'cause Duke
selling
sucked.
toys. Duke, yes, I was not a big Duke fan either, which I wouldn't have had a problem with it. But so instead, we get this new villain, Serpentor, in this movie. They ended up just releasing it on TV because of this backlash. Serpentor or somebody throws something through Duke's heart, and then at the end of the movie, he's okay.
Huh. Wow.
So they yeah. I mean, you could tell that he was meant to die.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they just added the thing.
Changed
as,
their
like,
mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had.
I remember the blood stain because it looked like somebody smeared ketchup or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Terrible.
Exactly.
All right. So that was number 3.
That was number 3.
What's number 4 on your list?
Number 4 for me is, excuse me. I couldn't choose between these two, and I'm a big fan of stop motion animation. So both of these are stop motion ones. They're a little bit more current. Frank and Weenie and the Fantastic Mr. Fox.
All right. I can't really comment. I think I saw Frank and Weenie once. I thought it was okay. I'm not a huge Tim Burton guy.
I'm not a huge Tim Burton guy, but Ed Wood and Frank and Weenie I like because they're both black and white movies, and they're more, set back. They're more along the lines of Universal. I mean, Frank and Weenie is definitely heavily influenced by. I mean, they have a guy in there, the teacher, that is supposed to be Vincent Price. I mean, it's
Right.
basically they brought back Vincent Price in claymation form.
Now,
They got the voices as close as they could.
Yeah.
But like all the creatures that they turn into, I mean, there's like a Godzilla-like creature. There's a werewolf, well, a were-rat, a giant rat. They actually bring in sea monkeys. Actually, I take that back. It wasn't Godzilla. It was more like Gamera because it was a giant turtle.
Oh, okay.
But
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't like Tim Burton's first effort like a rough version of
there's a
Frankenweenie?
it's not rough. It's actually a decent.
But then they
movie.
redid it as a feature.
Well,
Yeah.
it was like one of his first things, and it was a live action Frankenweenie, and
That's
and it's
right.
probably like
Okay.
I don't know, a half hour long or whatever. And
All
it's actually I never saw that until after I'd seen the claymation version of Frankenweenie, and I think I bought the DVD or whatever, and they had that on there too.
All right.
So it's actually. You ever seen it?
No, I just wanted you to say weenie one more time.
But yeah, I was shocked how much I liked this movie.
Okay.
And Fantastic Mr. Fox, I didn't see the theater, but
Is
you
that
know,
claymation? Stop motion?
stop motion.
Okay.
Have you ever seen that one?
Nope.
You should see that. I think you would like this
Yeah.
one. I
don't
mean,
know.
I
Some
mean,
movies just come and go, and it's just not on my radar, and I never get around to seeing it, never catch it on cable.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely more geared towards adults.
What's
than
the
than it would
premise?
be for kids? This is a book that I think it was the same guy that wrote James and the Giant Peach,
Okay.
maybe, or
Another movie I never
I'm
seen.
not sure, but I mean, just the voices alone. I mean, Bill Murray's a voice. It's all the same.
Yeah,
I mean,
but he did Osmosis Jones too, and that was awful.
I never saw that, but
Never saw that
uh,
either.
yeah, who's the? I can't think of the director of it. One of my favorite directors, but I can't think of his name. But anyway, he brought in like all his like same people. Wes Anderson.
Oh,
Wes
okay.
Anderson.
Yeah, I like his stuff.
The music in it's great. The characters are great. The voice actors are great. The whole thing. George Clooney plays Mr. Fox, and basically, they are, they're kind of at war with these three companies that move in. Like one guy's like a hunter, and one guy's whatever, and I mean, it's like three brothers, or I don't know, they're not brothers, but they're like, there's three companies, and they're, messing with the wildlife again. but
Yeah.
you should check it out.
All right.
Ryan,
So that
you
was
never saw that one?
I never saw that one. I did. I lied. I did see Frankenweenie one time, I think, but it was forgettable for me.
So that was your 4 and 5.
No, those were both tied for 4.
All right.
My
what's
number 5 is Charlotte's Web.
All right.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was another one that for me, like we were talking about this earlier, and I'm like, was that even a theatrical release? Because I remember seeing it on TV like annually, almost like
Well,
Wizard of
I'm pretty
Oz.
sure originally it
Yeah,
was.
so I don't
mean, they
recall
came
it
out
ever
in
being in theaters, but-
1973, so I would have
Yeah.
been 1. But
Some pig.
yeah,
It was a
mean,
classic.
classic book, classic animation, classic tale.
And Paul Lynn. I don't
Yeah,
know
he
if
was
you-
awesome as Templeton.
Templeton the rat.
The rat.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, that was a great movie. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rattle off my next 5, and then we'll kind of go around the table with your next 5. We got about 6 minutes left in the podcast. Coming in at number 6 is Finding Dory, which I actually liked better than Finding Nemo. I liked Finding Nemo, but I thought Finding Dory was just incredible. And Finding Dory is currently the top grossing animated movie of all time at $486 million.
Do you think Incredibles 2 will beat it? It's
Quite
already
possibly. I
It's
know
already made almost 300.
Well, it had a $180 million opening weekend, and it is on fire, and it is bringing people into the theater. So, yeah. Speaking of Incredibles, Incredibles 1 is number 7 on my list. Aladdin, number 8. A Bug's Life, I really enjoyed at number 9. And this one, I knocked it off my top 10, then I put it back on my top 10 because people might argue one way or the other. But at number 10 is Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And the only reason I questioned about adding it to my top 10 is because it's a mixture of live action and animation, but a good part of the movie, like a good chunk of the movie is animated. And it brought Warner Brothers, Bugs Bunny characters on screen together with Disney characters that had never been done before. It had never been done since. Talk about your mature humor. Wow, it's pretty adult, but just a great movie. One of my all-time favorite movies of all time, and it's a little redundant. And so yeah, I'm going to count it as number 10 on my list of greatest animated movies. Ryan, what's 5 through 10, real quick?
Well, I will say that I agree with you on Roger Rabbit. I think it was innovative. I think it was amazing. People still to this day dress up like Jessica Rabbit. Ba ba boom.
Thank you, God.
What some assets that she had there. Real quick, Monsters Inc. I thought was great.
Loved it.
Despicable Me. I thought they did a great job.
Never saw any of the Minion movies. None of them.
Well, Despicable Me wasn't a Minion movie.
But it had Minions in it.
It did, but it wasn't over. I mean, they took
The
over
Minions,
eventually.
the actual Minions movie is the weakest one.
Yeah.
Right.
Despicable Me was great though. You should definitely check that out. Space Jam is another one.
Mhm.
Kind of along the same lines as Who Framed Roger Rabbit in terms of the mix, but it was too good not to put on my list. A couple of obscure ones, Fern Gully, because I'm big into not cutting down the rainforest. Land Before Time,
Loved it.
thought that was a great one. Polar Express, that is a movie for me that every year I have to watch at Christmas time. I went down to the IMAX down at Dearborn and watched it around that time, and I fell in love. The environment around the big screen.
I love that movie.
Yeah, the way that I felt cold in the theater, and that's how you're supposed to feel when they're out in the cold on the train. So
My only issue with Polar Express is the human characters are kind of robotic. That's the only issue I have. Other than that, I find it pretty entertaining.
I think you're focusing on the wrong part.
I think so too.
And then I also wanted to throw out Veggie Tales, the Jonah movie. Yeah, it's really.
Oh, wait. That's not. No, I'm thinking of something else. What's Veggie Tales?
It's where like the asparagus and tomatoes, and it's they tell
Okay.
Bible stories.
Huh. All right.
But it is super entertaining. I think they did a great job of, especially in this day and age when religion isn't as prevalent as it used to be in the past, and not as many people make it a point to go to church every Sunday. I think it does a great job of telling the Bible stories in a very fun, humorous, and engaging way. And I think it's great for kids, and I enjoyed watching it. All the crap that they put out there for kids to watch, and parents have to deal with and sit through. VeggieTales needs a nod.
Tim, 6 through 10.
My number 6 is Fire and Ice, which came out in 1983. It is a collaboration between Ralph Bakshi, excuse me,
He
and
got a bad connection. He must have Sprint.
He's phlegmy.
Ralph Bakshi and Frank Frazetta. It's like a medieval type thing, scantily clad women's and warriors and sword fights and all that stuff. And I think George R. Martin may have been influenced by it. I have no proof to back that up, but that's just my theory.
All right. We got about 2 minutes left.
7 was Toy Story. 8 is Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And if you guys have not seen that, you definitely should, because that movie is hilarious. It is.
Saw
Mr. T.
I saw the trailers. I was like, man, I have no interest in that.
I didn't either, but somebody just bought it for me and gave it to me, and I watched it, and I really like it. Second one, not so much, but that one I really liked.
All right.
Number 9 for me is I think the only classic Disney animation that I have on here, and basically it's because I remember seeing it at the theater as a kid and loving it, and it's The Rescuers.
Huh. Okay. And that comes into what? 9?
9 for me.
And what's number 10?
And number 10 for me is another claymation movie that was out in the last couple of years, Shaun the Sheep movie. The Shaun the Sheep movie.
I'm so glad Wallace and Gromit didn't make anybody's list, because I hate them.
Yeah.
How can you hate Wallace and Gromit? They're awesome.
All right.
Well, the one movie that they came out with was just okay, but
Terrible.
their shorts are
Terrible.
better.
All right. I had some other movies worthy of discussion. We'll save it for another time because we're just about out of time. Great conversation, guys, on best animation movies of all time. We will see you again on a future episode of Movies for Dumb Guys.
A nice boulder.